What is up, guys? Mr. Basie here, and today we're doing some more Seduce Me 2, The Demon War. Welcome back. We're picking up right where we left off. Of course, Damien just had that thing with his brain going all crazy where he was hearing everyone's thoughts. Diana blocked his mind, and we had a dream where I guess we were happy about the fact that he's not actually a human, and that now that his mind is blocked, everything's peachy keen, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's how we really feel or whether we're being controlled or our thoughts are being manipulated or something like that. I don't know, but we're going to find out today. I think it'll be pretty awesome. So before we actually get kicked off, I do want to mention one other thing about one of my other series, Outlast. I did actually just finish the game. I just came from recording on there. So if you're interested in those kind of games, if you like horror games, definitely go check it out. If you want the best kind of experience, watch it with headphones and in the dark. It's really, really scary. And the jump scares are pretty intense in that game. I love it, man. It's so intense. Like, the adrenaline rush is definitely real. And I'm weird. I like being scared. So I enjoy those kinds of things, but it's a really cool series. Check it out. The little pop-out eye will pop out there. I'll take you to the playlist where once I do upload the thing, I haven't actually gotten to editing that as of the recording of this video. However, there are a total of 5 episodes in the series. All right, so I woke up to Damien still in my arms. While the grogginess of the morning overtook my body and made me feel like going back to sleep, something about Damien in my arms made me keep my eyes open. He seemed at peace, finally having some shut-eye and getting proper rest. I felt a wave of happiness run through me, but at the same time, I couldn't help but remember the voice in my dreams. Damien was a demon. Jeez. I ran my fingers through Damien's hair, becoming lost in thought once again. Was I being selfish, or was I just being positive? What? How is that even being positive? Damien seemed to only hate his mind reading, and that was taken care of. At the same time, a wave of reality washed over my moral compass. Damien had to be the one to decide. It was his body and he was the one who ultimately living in it. But was it even possible to become human? The question crossed my mind and settled in as I stared at the far wall. Would Damien even have a choice? Well, if there was no choice in the matter, then Damien was set to live a happier life with his mind-reading ability under a barrier. I'd just have to give him energy, which didn't seem to be a big deal. I'm sure it isn't, based on what that entails. As Damien nuzzled my shoulder in his sleep, I looked down at him and smiled. Yeah, it was okay. I rubbed my eyes but stopped as I managed to spot Diana at the doorway, holding 2 plates of food and leaning against the doorframe. The food looked delicious, but the intrusion was out of place. Diana? Diana placed a finger to her lips before walking over and gently placing the food she brought onto the table near the bed, being careful not to make noise. Damien seemed to cuddle closer, despite obviously smelling the food by the wiggle of his nose. I couldn't help but smile and nod to Diana, combing my fingers through Damien's hair as Diana crossed her arms and watched, lowering her voice to barely above a whisper to speak to me.
You seem to be in a good mood.
I nodded, looking up at the succubus, as I gently gave Damien a squeeze. Yeah, Damien got some sleep, which is what he needed. I took the moment to look down at Damien's sleeping face, seeing how innocent and peaceful it was. The dark circles under his eyes seemed to have vanished, causing another relaxed wave to rush over me. It's weird though, because they said he didn't need sleep, and considering he is a demon now, or I guess was the whole time, like, it's weird that he needs sleep, like he was having dark circles. So maybe that's a sign that maybe it is possible, who knows.
Have you given him any energy?
I shook my head, not remembering at all ever giving him energy. Whether he took energy in our sleep was something I would be unaware of, so I could only assume that he had not taken any from me at all. Diana pressed her lips together before looking to Damien.
You'll need to feed him energy soon.
I know. Thank you for setting the mood there. That's great. Diana nodded in reply before turning on her heel and walking to the door. Before she crossed the threshold, however, she looked back at me over her shoulder.
I'm curious about something.
Well, what is it? For a moment, hesitation took over Diana's expression before she settled into her curiosity and asked,
What are your thoughts about him being a demon once again?
Is this really her in our dreams asking? Because, like, she's asking pretty relevant questions to what we dreamed about. I stared at Diana, seeing the curiosity burn in her eyes. My grip slightly tightened around Damien as I let my thoughts try and construct an answer. At the same time, I wasn't entirely 100% sure myself. Damn, this is crazy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be cool with it. It was the truth of the matter. I didn't know, and I wasn't at liberty to say, because it was, in the end, all up to Damien, not me. I would root for him either way, but I wasn't the right person to make that choice. I had once before, and it plagued me for years. What? Is that this from the first game, probably? Diana stared at me for a moment before nodding in acknowledgement and leaving the room, closing the door behind her. That was an interesting interaction. Looking down at Damien's sleeping form, He had turned his head in his sleep, so I could only see the top of his orange head. I smiled slightly and kissed the top of his head, causing him to stir a bit in my arms. At the end of it all, I wanted what was best for us, and that was something we had to deal with together. Whether or not this ended with him being human or not was up in the air. But for now, I had the responsibility of caring for him. I always think he's naked. Always. Like, these things blend in too good. Damien gently squeezed my form, allowing me to take in that he was awake now, and looked up at me with tired eyes.
Good morning.
Always busting nuts with this guy. I couldn't help but smile at his expression. He was I almost said he was an elderly bird. He was an early bird, but the rare occasion when I caught him more entranced in sleep than me were moments I found so adorable. Good morning, sleepyhead. Damien blushed a bit before crawling up a bit, what the heck, and kissing me sweetly. I smiled wider against his lips and wrapped my arms around him, melting into the kiss lovingly. It had been years since I felt an incubus's energy drain, so to feel my energy snake over my nerves and into my lips felt odd. I had to get used to it again for now, and I tightened my arms around Damien to keep from pulling away from the slight surprise it brought me. As we slowly pulled away, I could see a tint of gold course through Damien's eyes as he looked down at me and licked his lips. Always tasting with these guys. They're always just kind of, like a fine wine or something with these dudes. A red tint brushed over my cheeks. Was my energy that delicious? What did it even taste like? Delicious. Before I could ask, however, Damien sat up and stretched his arms over his head, letting a yawn trickle from his throat. Ew, putting it like that sounds gross. When he relaxed, he looked towards the table, seeing the food Dinah brought us.
Oh, wow. Did you make that?
Nah, dude. You know what? Yeah. I looked over before shaking my head. Damn it. Dinah came and delivered it to us. Damien observed the plates for a bit as he listened to me before rolling out of bed and going over to the table and lifting the plates off of them. As he turned back to me, I took the time to sit up in bed, leaning back against the bedpost. Damien passed a plate to me and sat beside me, placing his own plate on his lap and eating what was prepared for us. I, however, watched for a moment, wondering what was going on in his head. What did he think about this whole thing? He seemed to be in better shape than he was before, which was good. Was he easily adjusting back to being a demon? A part of me felt a little happy at that idea, while the other part of me tried to be realistic. This was temporary, maybe. Ooh. As Damien caught me staring, he looked up at me and stopped eating, causing me to flinch from being caught and start eating my own food.
What is it? You were staring at me. What's wrong?
What? I can't look at you, bro? Shit. What do you think about this? Let's say... What do I think about what? The food? Let me save and then I'll ask. Could give him a compliment, but let's do something more productive and ask.
About what?
Well, about you being a demon and stuff. I couldn't read his mind. I need to figure it out somehow, and it was better to ask him personally than to make assumptions. Maybe he changed his mind about the whole thing, or maybe it became worse. Only he knew. Damien looked down at his plate for a moment before closing his eyes.
I don't like it.
Well, shit. You don't?
I don't. As good as it is to have my powers back, I still don't like using them.
So you'd rather be a human without powers to fight? I didn't intend to be rude with the question, but the idea of enjoying a powerless life seemed rather odd to me. Damien nodded, affirming my comment.
I would rather have no abilities at all than live with the responsibility of them. Having powers brought me too much pain.
For me to be happy with them is what he meant to say. Damien looked up at me, a serious flame in his eyes.
But if having powers will get us home, then I will do everything I can to ensure that we return safely.
Well, there you go. I stared wide-eyed at Damien, surprised at his words, but thankful for how much he was willing to work for us to get back home. He was right. What mattered at the moment was getting us home. We would figure the human part out after we returned. Damien and I continued to eat and eventually separated for training. Him to his brothers and me towards my own training session. All right, back with the wolf. Or not yet, I guess. I was excited to see what training we would do today. However, as I walked to the Great Hall to meet with Rabbit, I bumped into someone.
Ugh.
Who the fuck?
Oh no!
Who were you?
Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you.
Where did you come from? Looking over at who had collided with me, I was surprised to see a young man in some sort of flowing cloth garb, waving his hands in front of him in worry. What was wrong? He just bumped into me. It was an accident for sure. It's all right, bro. It's all right. Chill. Calm your ween. Despite my reassurance, the boy bowed and apologized once again.
I really am truly sorry.
Alright, dude, you're getting a little annoying.
That's enough, Bajang.
Bajang? Seriously? I'll just call you like, nah, fuck it. Bajang it is. I quickly looked over to see Diane walking towards me with crossed arms, looking to the boy as he flinched at his name. Bajang, see, he doesn't even like it. Bajang looked up and jumped at the sight of Diana beside me.
Rebel Queen!
Whoa.
I have a message from my lady.
My lady what?
I know. Come along, and I will hear it.
Diana gestured Bajang to follow her as she nodded to me.
I apologize for keeping you. Good luck with training.
Thanks, bro. I could only nod before Dinah walked off with the boy behind her. He seemed nice. I wondered for a moment who he was, but shook my head. A moment in time. What the heck? I continued my journey to the Great Hall and turned into the room, peering in and expecting to see my trainer ready for me. That, unfortunately, wasn't the case. Rabbit stood in the middle of the room, her staff in front of her, while formed in a semicircle around her were pig fawn demons, ones that very much resembled the one I saw in the vision the boys gave me about their past. Why were they here, though? I think they're just illusions. I think she's got this. If she doesn't have this, she doesn't deserve to be one of the generals. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's watch and enjoy. Let's get some popcorn. I was lost in what was happening, but something in my gut told me to stay put. Following my instincts, I watched this rabbit step back, gripping her staff hard, with the imp demons cackling quietly around her. Plus, I feel like if they were real, Diana would know about it. A large blue light began to glow from the crystal at the end of her staff, causing the imps to turn and become distracted by it. As they did, however, Rabbit swung her staff in an arc, causing a large wave of ice to spray forward and engulf them. What? Dude! It's fucking Avatar! I stared in shock as She's the fucking Avatar. I stared in shock as the imps became encased in ice, frozen in time and space. What made my mind completely break in awe was Rabbit lifting up the end of her staff and tapping on the surface of the ice. The bodies of the imps suddenly began to crack and crumble before dissolving into the ice as if they were never there. What the hell? I took another step in, trying to take in what had just happened. What kind of ice did Rabbit trap them in? Why were they there in the first place? What was going on? Rabbit turned over her shoulder and gasped, seeing me come in. As she did, the ice disappeared, evaporating into the air. Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just...
Nah, dude, close the mouth. I mean, it's fine. I stared at Rabbit, confused as ever. As she turned around let out a sigh. What? Whatever.
I'm sorry. I was doing some training of my own. I'm usually not on the battlefield in war, but since the next battle will be our last, we need to have as many people fighting as we can.
Were those holograms? Are you a Jedi? I instantly shook my head. It was understandable. I wasn't the only one allowed to train after all. It's fine. Sorry for interrupting. Sorry for being a bitch. Rabbit laughed a bit, hugging her staff to her body. It was pretty cute to see her stand up to the illusionary imps, but she seemed to handle herself well. After a moment, however, she shook her head and cleared her throat.
Anyway, we should start your training for the day. Can't let this time go to waste.
Okay, well, are you going to explain how the frick they were there? I nodded, summoning my guardian and readying myself. This time, Rabbit pointed her staff out and caused a large group of imps... Okay, well, there we go. Ready to slice into me and my animal guardian. I smirked, knowing how easy this would be. Damn, we just know? We're just that boss? Upon my command, my guardian leapt forward and began to claw through the group, dodging their swords and spears and making sure to rip through each one as they came. As one fell and turned into mist, another would emerge to take its place. It became a practice of endurance. My animal kept fighting, but I felt myself slowly becoming weaker with each attack and movement. It had happened the day before, but the battles had been shorter and were divided with many breaks in between. Oh, today, however, had me go through wave upon wave of imps until the afternoon. When I felt drained completely of energy, soon my animal guardian dispelled itself, unable to maintain its form without my energy, leaving me defenseless. Shit. However, Rabbit spun her staff in the air, willing the imps to vanish. She walked over to me with a smile, most likely proud of what work I had done.
I'm very shocked to see how long you managed to keep fighting.
Yes!
Many people would have dropped halfway through, but you pushed forward.
See, I'm a freaking boss. And so is my wolf. Thanks. In truth, I didn't want to give up no matter what had happened. This was training and stamina was a key part of defending myself. Rabbit looked to the windows, seeing the light of the afternoon slowly drift to the night.
Why don't we take a break for now? Then we'll do one last round before your training is over. All right?
Yeah. I nodded, going to the far corner of the room and sitting down, wanting to shut my eyes for a moment and take a nap to regain my energy. I barely noticed the figure running into the room and approaching Rabbit. You!
My lady?
Are you her bitch? I know. I opened an eye, looking up to see Bajang looking to Rabbit with a slight grimace on its expression. Rabbit turned to him and placed her staff to her side, tilting her head and furrowing her eyebrows.
Bajang, what is it?
Please say that again.
Bajang, what is it?
Well, you see...
Rabbit stepped forward and checked Bajang's face, looking for something.
What's wrong? Did she take your energy?
We know what that entails. What did you do to him? Is your wing piece okay?
Oh, no. She didn't. She refused to take any from me. But she gave me another message to send back to you.
Rabbit waited as Bajang took a breath and straightened up. Calm from the flustered expression he carried earlier. Whatever he had to say must have been important.
She wants to speak with you alone tomorrow morning, before anything is settled.
Tomorrow morning? Why not tonight?
Bajang rubbed his hands, another grimace painting over his face.
Well, she said she had plans later tonight, so she can't.
Plans. We know, yeah, plans.
With whom? Wait, never mind. I don't wish to know.
We know it's Sarah. She's getting that angel ween. With a sigh, Rabbit turned and hugged her staff.
Thank you, Bajang. You're dismissed for the night.
Oh, thank you, my lady.
With that, Bajang bowed and turned, letting Rabbit sigh to herself, shaking her head.
Why do we have to keep discussing this?
Discussing what? Angel ween? Discussing what? Share with the class. I couldn't help but be curious. Rabbit looked over at me with a surprised face before pressing her lips together and looking away.
It's nothing to worry about. Just a minor topic we need to chat about. It's nothing.
From the tone of her voice, it was definitely something large. However, Rabbit wasn't willing to spill the beans just yet. I let it go for now, knowing that I would find out sooner or later regardless of the fact. Bajang finally left as Rabbit let out a sigh and looked back to me, a desperate look for some sort of distraction in her eyes. Whatever Diana needed to talk to her about really riled her up. Still, I refused to let it get the best of me. I was certain that I would be perfect fighting with my guardian and forget about whatever they were chatting about with ease.
Are you ready to go again?
Absolutely. I nodded, sitting up to go once more and shaking out my nerves. I was getting tired, but my day wasn't over. I trained into the night, like I usually did. This time, however, Rabbit seemed to be rougher with her obstacles and attacks, letting out stress from the situation she wouldn't tell me about. Well, that's not fair. Shit. I felt a little bad that she was holding it in. You're getting pounded and you feel bad? But understood why, as I took the beating. My cheeks were raw. As Rabbit and I finally relaxed, Rabbit smiled at me, exhausted.
You're getting better. That's good.
Ew. I grinned and nodded, happy to know that there was improvement. As I turned to leave, however, Rabbit stopped me.
Wait,
Bitch, I gotta go to bed, I'm sleepy. Huh? What is it? I turned to see Rabbit rubbing one of her ears nervously.
Can you come a little later to practice tomorrow? You know that Diana is coming to discuss something, and, well...
What is that? She didn't want me to overhear it. My curiosity was piqued, but I nodded regardless. Oh, we're gonna be sneaking. Alright, I'll come by later. With a smile, I left Rabbit and made my way back to my room. I treaded towards my room, admiring the decor, as it looks like shit. It's like, I mean, it's a nice castle, I guess, but it's pretty bleak. As my mind wandered to Damien, I began to wonder how his training was going. Was he adjusting to his powers once again? Was he holding back? The idea of him using his powers seemed a bit thrilling. See, we're weird. It had been years since he used them after all. What kind of attacks could he do now, especially in the demon world?
Oh, many things can happen in this world. You're limiting the possibilities so much.
I stopped walking, suddenly feeling the room dim a bit as I looked around for the voice. It wasn't Diana. I knew that for a fact, but how was the voice in my dreams back to haunt me? Was it like how it was able to communicate with me in the human world? I looked around for a mirror, but found none in sight.
Again, you limit the powers of magic, dear.
I could only glare into the dark, tensing up and preparing myself for a fight. The laughter that echoed from the dark only made me ease up a slight inch.
So eager to fight. Too bad you're not as wise as you are brash.
Why don't you just leave me alone?
Because this is entertaining. This little game of will he, can he is just too interesting to pass up. Only a fool would ignore this kind of intrigue.
Then why pretend to be Diana? A lingering silence filled the room. making it that much more creepy. Something about this wasn't right, and I began to feel chills just from standing in that same spot. No one was around to witness me, and I was feeling like prey about to be struck at. At last, a deep chuckle invaded my ears.
Because, dear, I'm what you fear the most.
This is the Demon Lord. Isn't it always him? Like, it's always the Demon Lord. What?
Think about it. Or should I replay my little rape scene for you again?
Excuse-moi. What? I froze, realizing what she meant. She gave me that horrid nightmare and made me watch it. I knew that something had been wrong with it. Outside of it being completely disgusting in the first place, but to think that it was induced by whatever this thing was. I practically snarled at the dark. That was you?
You sound so confident. It feels so good to be recognized.
Ew. I began to prepare an attack, but found myself faltering due to the exhaustion from my training. The harder I tried, the more the room around me began to spin. I had to stop myself, not wanting to faint in the hallway. The voice in the air chuckled heartily at my struggle, making me grimace and glare harder in the dark.
Oh, I can't wait until you realize who I actually am. The expression on your face will be just so tantalizing.
Ew, tantalizing. Oh my god. Damn, just walk off like, fuck you, man. Let's do tell me. I'm gonna save, but I feel like let's just say tell me. Let's see if it actually says it. Doubt it, but let's try. This game was becoming too insane. This was some voice in my head, taunting me and laughing at my struggles to make it stop playing games with me. The voice only laughed.
I don't need to tell you anything, dear. You'll have to figure out that little detail on your own.
Well, piss off. You know what? I'm going back.
Oh.
I'm just gonna leave. Say,
You can walk away all you like. I'll always be around, waiting to check in again.
fabulous. I'll give you a reservation. What's stopping me from just ignoring you?
You can't. I'm always there, tickling your brain and reminding you of what you truly believe.
With those last haunting words in my mind, the voice finally vanished, and the light in the hallway grew back to its normal glow. I took a breath, looking around and taking in the sight of everything as I realized I was alone once more. How much time had passed? I could only grimace and shake my head, holding it. This was a major issue, but would I be able to fix this on my own, or would I need help? Damien had problems of his own to deal with. What if I approached Diana about it? I started my journey back to my room with the thoughts in my head. What the hell was haunting me? Some kind of ghost? Some ghosty? A magical entity?
Come on! Guess! Just guess!
Ew. The fuck?
How am I supposed to know?
Is he drunk? I stopped walking at the sound of Faye and Sarah's voice reverberating through the hall around the corner, breaking my thoughts. They sounded intoxicated. Always with the nakedness. I looked around the corner to see Sarah, Faye, and to my surprise, Damien sitting on the ground by the bedroom door. Damien's face was as pink as a peach, matching Sarah and Faye's intoxicated faces, but his eyes were glimmering in gold. Had Damien been drinking? He didn't seem to be affected by the chatter between Sarah and Faye.
How am I supposed to know which one you have?
I think I know what they're talking about. It's kind of creeping me out.
I could have both!
What? Are you kidding me?
See, even he agrees that's not fair.
What? I pressed myself against the wall, listening in further. Why were they all drunk, and what were they even talking about?
I will say, though, that human girl is just mega super duper powerful, you know?
The fuck?
I'll say, you.
Sarah gave Damien a nudge before taking a swig from a seemingly almost empty bottle before continuing to speak to my incubus.
You got really lucky to land a girl like her. Powerful, feisty, smart. She's like a human version of my lady.
Oh, don't even start talking about Diana, you crazy puppy!
What the fuck is going on? This is cringe. Like, this is real cringe.
I'm not a puppy. I'm a...
I shook my head, stifling a bit of a laugh. This was a little amusing to overhear.
No. She's nothing
Ew.
like her.
No.
Huh?
I stared over at Damien, seeing him run a finger along the rim of a bottle, eyes deep in thought.
She isn't a demon. She's a human, pure and perfect. She would never hurt me or do anything cruel to me.
My heart slightly melted at his words. He really thought that about me?
I loved her ever since I met her, and she's been there for me for everything. She made me human. Well, almost human anyway.
Sarah nudged Damien again, laughing a bit.
Well, my lady tried to turn you human. You can't say she didn't try.
She didn't.
Not without making the one I love choose something horrible and give her our energy.
Hey now.
Oh, get off your high horse, puppy boy. Diana's got a mean side and you know it. I'm not surprised she tricked him into giving her that energy.
But I still love her, even when she's mean to me.
I think that's called masochism.
What is going on? Like, I'm really confused. I finally turned the corner, facing the three as they looked up at me. As Damien's eyes locked onto mine, I could feel a very weak enthrallment attempt to wrap around my core, but it almost felt sloppily done, allowing me to break through it without even trying. Sarah and Faye scrambled up and pointed at Damien.
It was his fault!
What? Before I could make them stop, the pair of demons practically sprinted down the hall and out of sight around the far corner, leaving me and Damien alone. I pressed my lips together and walked towards Damien, seeing him gaze hard into my eyes in attempts to enthrall me. Damien, what happened? He wasn't answering, and I could tell that he was trying to make the enthrallment happen. Still, I remained unfazed. I sighed and crouched down, helping Damien up, ignoring the ornate empty bottles that fell over at his upward movement. Come on, let's get you inside. I guided Damien inside at last and closed the door behind us. He seemed to follow along, his arm wrapped around my shoulders as I walked in towards the bed. Before I could lay him down, however, he spun me around and pinned me to the wall, staring deep into my eyes. Whoa! Are you good? Jeez, are we wearing anything? Damien?
I love you.
Fabulous. I became lost in Damien's glowing gold eyes, feeling his enthrallment attempt once again to consume me. Every warning bell went off in my head, reminding me that he hadn't exactly been fed properly and regularly. This was probably him starving for energy. Some part of me, despite all of this, didn't want to let this go. Wait, what? It had been years since I felt his enthrallment on me. Oh, she didn't want to let the enthrallment go. My body began to crave the urge to delve into my curiosity. Would it be different? Would I enjoy it more than when we usually held each other? He was starving and I was curious. A deadly combination, indeed. I let myself sink against the wall, staring up at Damien as he bore his hungry gaze into my soul. To see the new animal within him seemed too erotic to pull away from.
I just
What?
need a bit. Just enough to stop the hunger.
Ew, what the fuck? Like some vamp status? Oh, take as much as you want. What do you mean control yourself? A kiss then? Nah, we'll go all in, like, right? All chips on the table. That's what you guys like. There it is. I was more than willing to dive into this dance if he begged it of me. He was mine and I was his, even beyond what we were physically. The shape of his lips, his hands, his body against mine always lit my body on fire with his touches. Soon enough, my words consumed his thoughts and he captured my lips with his own in a desperately passionate kiss, making me gasp and moan in surprise. Wait, so he can think again? Shit. Or I'm not thinking again, he's just fucking brain dead. He can like read minds again? He released my hands, allowing me to wrap my arms around his neck as he pressed himself harder against my body, pinning me up to the wall with his chest and hips. Well then. His own hands traveled to my hips and lifted me up further on the wall. His fingers danced over the skin beneath my shirt. As shudders ran through my body, the enthrallment he set in my core began to consume me, filling me with a heated need for him. So I guess because he's now getting energy or whatever. Damien became the only thing I was able to think about, the only person I let in my thoughts, the only demon I let take all of my body, mind, and soul. Of course! I would hope! Damien slowly began to drag his kisses down my cheek and onto my neck, rolling the clothes covering my chest up over my skin and making me lift my arms up off of Damien's shoulders. He pulled away once just to pull the articles of clothing off of me, leaving me completely nude above the waist. Well, the cool air that rushed against my skin made me quake a bit in Damien's arms. Freaking hard nips, but only spurred him to lick and nip, there it is, over my skin. A hot moan ran through my lips at the feeling. This was indeed a starved demon enjoying a feast of energy, growling happily at the sound of my moans and tightening his grip at the feeling of my shivering body. Something like this was addicting and wildly erotic, something I didn't ever get to experience before. I slightly feared becoming needy for it, but I let the thought dissipate with his hands caressing my skin hotly.
I need you. so much.
Well, me too, Damien, but for different reasons. His voice raked amorous shivers down my spine, making me roll my eyes to the back of my head and press my head into the wall. Shit, are you serious? Just boom, like right through the wall. I barely felt him remove the remainder of our clothes, leaving us bare against each other. Truthfully, I couldn't have cared less where we made love, against the wall, on the floor, on the bed, just completely unsanitary places except the bed. It didn't matter to me. I just needed him. Blame the enthrallment or blame my own selfish perversion. What the fuck? It mattered little to me, the difference between. The heck? The night became filled with heavy pants and moans. Whenever we made love, it was deep, slow, and romantic with me and Damien. However, tonight was rough, beast-like, and almost carnal. Well then. The new feelings within me drove me mad with each moan I released and each gasp for air I took in. This was new and I loved it. As we rocked through our simultaneous climax, the draining of my energy sent my mind into a misty frenzy, taking over my body and completely wrapping myself around Damien as he held me closer still. The sound of his hot breath in my ear sent shivers down my body, even as we slowly coasted towards a brilliantly deserved afterglow. His arms around me cradled me against his warm chest as we inhaled and exhaled in perfect sync. That was...
Yeah.
What the fuck? Just smoking a ciggy. I looked up at Damien, seeing him stare up into the ceiling. His eyes had returned to normal, but his expression was slightly enigmatic. What was on his mind? Feeling my gaze on him, Damien looked down and smiled, kissing over my forehead.
I hope I didn't hurt you.
What the fuck? Were you like just bashing? I shook my head and cuddled close to Damien, nuzzling his chest lovingly. And I like how he asks that afterwards. Like, what if we were like, arms just broken, legs just twisted upwards, like, hope it didn't hurt you. We're like, it was amazing. Damien nodded before holding me close and falling into a well-deserved sleep, with me following quickly after. Well then, the morning slowly rose, with me waking up to see Damien's sleeping face. As I slowly sat up, I felt the ache of the morning wreck through me, demanding that I go back to sleep. However, I knew better. I knew that the day had to continue forward and that I had to wake up. Still, seeing Damien fast asleep made me feel a bit relieved. He certainly needed the sleep after the night before. A very faint knock rapped at the door, causing me to look up and see Diana enter with 2 plates of warm food. Again, dude, this girl's awesome. As she stepped in, she looked at me and tilted her head.
Up again before him?
I nodded and rubbed the back of my neck, grinning a bit. I guess I've gotten used to Demon World time. Dinah laughed a bit before placing the food she held on the table nearby and crossed her arms.
I see. Well, if you could, please wake Damien up. I have something I must speak to you two about.
Huh? What is it? Dinah grimaced and looked away from me, staring at the ground and avoiding my gaze.
It would be best if both of you heard my news. Please, just wake him up.
This doesn't sound good. I nodded and looked down at Damien, seeing him slightly stir against my body before I placed my hands on his shoulders and kissed his cheek. Damien, wake up. Kiss his cheek again. I giggled a bit and kissed his cheek again, nuzzling his temple with my nose. Come on, Diana's here and wants to talk to us. Damien stirred a bit more, finally opening his eyes and yawning before being awoken. As he looked up at me, I smiled down at him, earning a tired smile back. Morning.
Morning.
And Nagy. He just doesn't wear shirts in the Demon World. Damien slowly sat up, stretching his arms over his head before shaking his head and looking to Diana, taking in that she was in the room.
Good morning.
Damien only nodded before leaning back against the bedposts, relaxing against them as he looked to me. I turned my head to Diana and gestured for her to speak. So, what is it? Diana looked down at the floor, trying to find the answer in the wooden grain. I became more curious as to what Diana was about to reveal the longer the silence in the air lingered. What was the important news she had to say? When Diana formulated her answer, she looked up at me and Damien, taking in a breath.
I may have found a way to perform a reverse ritual.
What? A what? Diana, I told you that wasn't the first time it was going to happen. Diana ran her hands through her hair and locked her gaze to me, obviously more comfortable with speaking to me than my fiancé.
Long ago, when this world was forged, there was a human named Lilith, who was transformed into a demon and was brought to this world. It had been known ever since that any human who wished to be a demon, or is punished to be one, can very much become one.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it must go backwards then. Okay, so are you saying that Dinah nodded slowly, bringing her hands to her stomach and fiddling over her fingers.
It took me some sleepless nights, but I do believe I can perform a reverse ritual, which would in essence turn a demon into a human.
Well, there you go. My heart stopped. It was possible now? She's like, right after that amazing night, she's like, oh shit, it's not gonna happen again?
How are you sure?
I could hear the twinge of sour strain in Damien's voice. He was right to be skeptical. After all, she had failed to turn him human before. What was to say that this wasn't going to be a failure as well? Dinah shook her head and lowered her hands to her sides.
I'm not. Nothing like this has ever been done before, and it could be risky. Hell, you could even die from this.
Great. What? I instantly stood up from the bed, making Dinah turn her gaze at me in shock. This could kill Damien? There was no way in hell I was going to go through with this, if she was suggesting such a thing. Then what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that it's an option. A risky one, but an option nonetheless.
Dinah turned her eyes to Damien, seeing him straighten up in bed and gaze back at her with a serious expression.
I know that what I did back then was wrong. My intent was to make you as human as possible, but there was no method to even do that until now. If this works, you will become human. I swear on my family name.
Wow. Oh man. I don't know. You know? I mean, I don't want him to be dead, but if I interject, what does that mean? That I'm going against it? Like, what is that? Let's just interject and see what that means. Because I don't know if that's a negative thing or what. It may have been Dinah's form of redemption, but it was potentially risking Damien's life. Who knew if this would work at all, let alone successfully turn him human without killing him? Dinah, this is insane.
But it's the only option there is.
Dinah looked to me and stared into my soul, making me almost freeze up in place from the intensity of her stare.
I lost my family despite having the energy to drive the Demon Lord away from them. I've received my due punishment for this mistake, and now I'm going to make it right. It is up to him if he wishes to become a human or not.
True. Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with that, I guess. I looked over at Damien and watched him look back over to me, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I could tell that he wanted what he wanted. But would he ask me anything? Would I have a say?
Why wouldn't you have a say?
What? Oh, so we know it's not her. Shit. Before my eyes, the world around me froze and I was shut in a room of darkness, everything barely tinted in shadow. What? I looked around, feeling stuck to my spot, as the dark laughter echoed around the room.
It would be so selfish of him to become human without considering your feelings first. Wouldn't you agree?
No, it's what he wants. What do you want now?
I'm just stating what's deep in your heart. Nothing more.
What do you mean?
Don't tell me I have to spell it out, dear. Damien turning human? He'd lose all of his powers. He'd be worthless, weak, and simple.
What? Well, what if that's what he wants?
Do you even know what he wants?
The memory of my wedding day flashed before my eyes. The voice was telling the truth. Did I really know what Damien wanted? What? How does that make sense? Was anything he wanted for the best? What? The voice chuckled deeply, a relaxation settling into my core.
Now you're getting it.
So we're just gonna assume that maybe it's not for the best that he'd do that? Like, what is that? That's selfish. I remained silent, now lost once again. What was best? What if turning Damien human meant destroying who he was? I became trapped in an endless cycle of questions and confusion as the voice finally vanished and let the world continue on its journey forward in time.
You do not have to decide now, but I will be awaiting your answer if you do wish to try.
I mean, that's a simple question, right? You could ask him. He doesn't have to be a secret. You know, just be like, dude, you know, do you feel like if you became human, you just wouldn't be Damien? If you'd be like, you know, I don't know, Maynard, or whatever his name is backwards.
Thank you.
Dinah nodded before leaving the room, most likely to prepare for the day. Damien and I stood in silence, me lost from the voice in my head, and Damien lost in his own thoughts. What were we supposed to do? You could say something. The option was now on the table, but instead of Dinah sleeping with Damien, there was a chance that Damien could lose his life. I wasn't sure where I stood on the issue, but I didn't like the options I was given before and now. Was it better to just leave Damien a demon? Was it worth dying to become human? The voice in my head teased me, prodding me to convince Damien to think against himself, but my heart knew that the choice was his alone. As I looked to him, I could see the conflict in his eyes while he stood and took up both of the breakfast plates Dinah made for us. He walked to me at last and handed me one, looking into my eyes and locking our gazes on each other. Was he going to ask me? Was he going to keep the choice to himself?
Selfish.
Ew, get out of here. Stop whispering. I mentally flinched at the word, hearing it ring in my heart. However, as Damien turned and sat down on the edge of the bed, I watched as he let out a sigh before starting to eat. I guess the choice was fully going to be his own, whether I liked it or not. We ate in silence until he left for his training, and I headed for my own. Never had I felt such strain and worry pull at my heart until that moment. I needed to work it out. Oh man. Oh yeah, that's right, she was having that meeting. I arrived at the Grand Hall, expecting to see Rabbit waiting for me. However, I didn't expect Diana to be there, locking in a heated argument with her. I quickly hugged the wall, wondering what was going on, before I peeked into the room.
Rabbit, what you are asking is impossible.
Impossible? How is liberating my kind impossible?
What?
I know you wish to change the caste system, and I do as well, but it cannot be done overnight. Can you understand the consequences of such a sudden change?
Jeez, man.
What does it matter? We are days away from taking control of this world, and what we demand will become ultimate law. The world will listen and obey every word we say, every word you say.
Well then, no, see, I understand where she's coming from. I fully think that should be done. But wait till the war's over, man. Why does it have to be now? If you're days away from conquering the world, do it then. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise, I mean, you really want some sort of like clashing of people, you know what I mean? Do it after the war's over, because if you lose, you're all dead anyways.
You overestimate the power we would have, Rabbit.
I felt frozen. What was happening? I thought Diana was with Rabbit in wanting change. Why would she hesitate? Rabbit was fighting for a just cause. The arguing continued.
No, I am not overestimating our power. I know exactly what we should be able to accomplish. You are just too afraid to go through with it.
Damn.
Afraid? Of course I'm afraid. Do you know what a sudden change in the system would do to everyone? What it would do to your kind?
We would be free.
You would be slaughtered!
Oh, sir! As Diana's voice suddenly boomed, the air began to quake from it. I stared as Diana's form suddenly became covered with black and purple flame. Glowing gold eyes peered through the suddenly fearful Rabbit.
Not everyone will be as kind as I am. Not everyone will unlock the chains of your people's limbs just because I demand it. What you demand will sign the death wish of every animal demon on this godforsaken plane.
Jeez, well can't you do it slowly then? Don't do it so suddenly.
You know what happened in the human world when the slaves of that world demanded their freedom? Millions were slaughtered, and they are still not equal to other humans. Why not learn that lesson? Damn. I was astonished. Was Diana seriously comparing animal demons to slaves of the human world's past? Rabbit stared, still fearful of the suddenly intimidating Diana, but watched as Diana slowly calmed down and let out a sigh. I know that what I ask is beyond horrid, but you need to understand. A ruler can rule, but the people beneath them have voices and hands of their own, strong enough to disobey and do as they desire. I may demand the immediate liberation of your kind, but they may see liberation as a call to slaughter, out of desperation to keep what they believe is theirs. Then do it slowly, out of small little maneuvers. I swear on my bloodline that I will fix this caste system, but you cannot demand that I force it overnight, unless you desire the blood of your kind to spill over the earth. That's reasonable. I think that's reasonable, you know what I'm saying? Without giving Rabbit a chance to respond, Diana turned and marched towards the exit. Before I could react, she reached the doorway, seeing me, and stopped in her tracks. I swear on my bloodline that I will fix this caste system. Moving forward, she didn't say anything. She simply arched around me and left down the hall, lowering her head as she vanished around the corner. I turned back into the room to see Rabbit turn to face out of one of the large windows, gripping her staff to her body and biting her lower lip. This must have been so hard on her, but I wasn't sure who to side with. Both had valid points. Rabbit and the other animal demons deserved to be free. But what if Diana was right? Rabbit's people would be killed the minute Diana's liberating demand left her mouth. Even worse, they'd never be able to reach that equality Rabbit wanted. I could only grimace at the situation. It was a tough one, and who knew where it would go after the war. I was positive it would work out in the end, but I knew it would be a tough battle to face, regardless of what they decided to do. Taking a breath, I walked in and made my way towards Rabbit as she lowered her head, placing a hand on her shoulder. Are you alright?
No. No, I am not.
This is reason. I think it's reasonable. I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop some comments down below, because I feel like that's that could happen. I think that could happen. I think it would be safer to do it slowly. I mean, it doesn't have to take too long. It could take maybe like a year or something. You know what I'm saying? It's not that bad. Rabbit took a deep breath and shook her head, wiping her eyes and smiling her usual kind smile to me, making me frown a bit at the sight.
I just thought that I could make a change in this war. But apparently not.
You are! Oh my god. Rabbit. Rabbit stared at me, searching for something in my eyes before letting out a sigh and waving her staff and forming a bluish mist in her hand. As it finally disappeared, it revealed something I didn't expect to see. What the heck? In Rabbit's hand was a blank and red iron collar, broken around the tag and on the back. That wasn't what sent a wave of shock around my spine, however. Around the inner border were metal spikes, dulled from rust and time, but I could tell that at one point they had been sharp enough to pierce the wearer's neck. What is this? Rabbit placed it on the windowsill with a sigh, staring intensely at it in remembrance.
That was my breeding collar.
Oh shit! Wow, okay then, that's okay, it took a turn that I didn't expect. Breeding collar? I stared wide-eyed at Rabbit, understanding or at least putting together what that could have meant. She was a slave for breeding? As I stared, Rabbit let out a sad chuckle and shook her head.
I was born into a large family of animal demons. Rabbits like myself. However, we weren't born to have normal lives. We were bred to become slaves and servants to people like Diana.
Damn. I couldn't believe it. Did Diana own her at one point? It was hard to think about, but Rabbit continued.
I was given just enough to live and survive by my parents until I became an adult. Then I was taken to a breeding brothel with a handful of my brothers and sisters. They said that my magic was desirable to pass to offspring.
Jeez, man.
As part of the membership, they welded this onto my neck, hoping to keep me from being disobedient.
I instinctively rubbed my neck, disgusted at the story despite knowing that she was going to be okay in the end.
Of course, when they found out that I was still a virgin, they decided to instead use me to stimulate their clients and male slaves.
Jeez. Rabbit ran her hand along her mask that covered her mouth, shutting her eyes and tracing the lines over her cheeks and down to her chin.
The day they cut open my mouth was the day Diana rescued me from captivity. I didn't think I was going to survive, let alone have my face become normal ever again. But Diana did everything she could to heal my wounds and reverse what my keepers did to me.
Wait, they cut your mouth open? Fucking why? I mean, what the fuck is that? At that moment, Rabbit slipped 2 fingers into her mask. What? And lowered it. This is like Kakashi if you were to reveal his face, revealing 2 scars that traveled from each edge of her lips across her cheeks like a wide smile and 2 more scars down her jaw like a puppet's mouth. Like fucking Joker? We didn't get to see it. Oh my god, that's triggering right there. I covered my mouth, unable to form any words, but unable to stop the gasp that erupted from my throat at the sight. Rabbit quickly covered her mouth with her mask again and looked out the window in longing.
I was brought back here with all of the slaves Diana had freed and was given care. I saw a deep compassion in Diana. She cared about people below her status and wanted everyone to be equal and free. So I joined the rebellion and eventually became a leader alongside her.
Slowly, Rabbit's eyes began to turn from warm and longing to cold and angered.
At least that's what I thought.
Damn. What do you mean? Rabbit looked to me and gripped her staff in a white-knuckle grip, gritting her teeth before speaking and answering my question.
As soon as this war is over, Diana will take over and become queen of this world, unifying everyone under her banner. However, with that kind of power, she can change the way my people are treated. But she refuses to use her power to do so. She doesn't understand what we have gone through, what my people have had to endure for eons. We are bred to be slaves, servants, war fodder, and we have no say in the matter.
This is insane, man.
We deserve our freedom. We deserve to be free. We should not be forced to wait for her to come around to it.
Damn. But... little gas. But seriously, like, I don't understand, like, I get where she's coming from, right? But what if they all get killed and everything, and they don't get to, you know, enjoy being free, then they're all dead. So, like, I mean, if they've been slaves for that long, just a little bit longer in terms of, like, the progression to being free would, I think, be worth it, to me anyway. But, I mean, at least to have as many people get to enjoy that freedom, you know what I mean? Because it would be a lot of people that probably die. Rabbit was very passionate about her desire for her demon kind. It was beyond admirable. However, Diana's warning echoed in my mind, reminding me of what she predicted if she decided to do as Rabbit asked. It was a difficult decision to be in. I understood Rabbit perfectly, but I also became fearful of Diana's prediction. The demon world was a very different playing field than the human world, so I expected demons to be more ruthless about their traditions. It was hard to think about, but the situation revolved around both ends of the risk spectrum. It was right, but it could be deadly. Rabbit shook out her head, letting out a sigh.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be telling you this. It was a private matter, and...
I don't know, man. No, it's alright. It's alright. I understood perfectly. The situation was indeed a mess, but something told me that they would be able to figure it out. Rabbit and Dinah were smart women after all. Rabbit looked at me in surprise before smiling slightly and nodding.
Right.
Rabbit finally shook her head and let out a sigh.
Well, now that I'm done with my, business, shall we get to training?
Sure thing. With a nod from me, we spent a day forgetting about what had happened and focused on working on my stamina and power with my animal guardian. It became easier to direct, and it even became intelligent enough to defend me if something tried to sneak up behind me. I was thankful for my new companion and felt ready for the siege ahead. What the fuck? I trekked to my room, letting the day... What is this sad-ass music? Letting the day fade to the back of my memories as I remembered Dinah's words to Damien. She would have a ritual set up for him if he wanted to be human, but the choice was his. A part of me screamed to stop him. The risk of his life wasn't worth it, but it was something he desired more than anything. The fix seemed simple, but it was deadly. I could lose the man I loved over something trivial, but was it trivial?
Of course it is.
Shut up! I'm getting a headache from you. I wasn't surprised anymore, glaring at the floor as the voice made themselves known in my head.
He's being selfish. Why be a human when he could be happy with you as a demon? Why does this change have to happen?
It's what he wants.
But what do you want? You're the one about to sign your life away to him forever and ever. Shouldn't your opinion matter whether he becomes a human or stays a demon?
See, this is the thing. Like, if it were me, like, I would want whatever the other person wants. You know what I'm saying? So it would be really funny if this, like, the whole time she just didn't give a rat's ass and she was just like, no, it's what he wants. It's what he wants. Nope, it's what he wants. This person will probably get so triggered. Like, could you imagine that? If it's like, nope, it's what he wants. I don't care. It's what he wants. Like, just completely going totally on Damien, not thinking any sort of doubts or anything like that. This person, whoever it is, would get so triggered. I'm telling you right now. My mind began to agree. But wasn't that selfish within itself? Was I truly that important to where I was allowed to decide Damien's choices because I was his soon-to-be wife? I continued forward, letting the dark chuckle from the voice reverberate in my head into a simple echo. This was my choice, and the voice needed to stay out of it. Whatever it was, I would deal with it in due time. For now, my focus was on Damien. Oh, finally a shirt! Is this the first fucking time he's had a shirt on? Except when he dropped into the demon world. Dang, man. I reached our room to see Damien standing by the door, obviously waiting for me. As he caught sight of me, he smiled slightly and walked over, meeting me halfway.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? I couldn't mask the worry in my voice. I was nervous, frightened beyond anything else about this. There was a lot at stake, and I became witness and potential victim to it all with each minute that passed. But would Damien listen? Would he understand? What would he do if I voiced my worries? Would he give a damn about the risks? Did he give a damn? I gazed into his eyes, seeing a hopeful fire burn within them. His answer was clear, while mine wasn't. It was completely uncomfortable to be in my skin, but I had to accept that this was an obstacle we had to face one way or the other. Damien took up my hand and held them to his chest.
Would you be upset with me if I went through with it?
Oh, he actually asked. A part of me felt like screaming, begging for him to reconsider. The other part of me wanted to simply shake my head and accept what was about to occur. I was completely torn. I gripped onto Damien's hands, clinging for something to soothe me, make me feel at ease. When nothing came, I scrambled to try and answer him. Oh, great. Man, I don't know, dude. Like, I would definitely want him to do it if it makes him happy. Like, the way the game's making it sound, it's like Lisa doesn't want it to happen. It's not really a neutral perspective. Like, the way the game's progressing, it sounds more like Lisa herself doesn't want this to happen. You know what I'm saying? Or she's, at least, she's worried about it, and she's voiced her opinion in terms of, like, wanting it to happen, kind of, or, like, not wanting it to happen, and him stay a demon. But I'm going to go through this from the perspective of, if I was in her position, you know what I'm saying? The whole time I probably would have been okay with him doing whatever he wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and say, if it makes you happy, do with it, then do it. Because that's pretty much what I would have been saying the whole time. You know what I'm saying? If it were me in that situation, it is risky, but, you know, and I would probably try to talk with him and be like, yo, it's risky, you know, you want to think about it. Is it worth it to you personally? And if he felt it was, then yeah, then go ahead. So we're going to save just in case he gets, like, scrubbed on, and continue. I had to accept it. It wasn't my choice to make, after all. It wasn't fair to Damien to demand that he change his mind for me. Besides, I loved him no matter what. Human or demon, he was still the man I loved. I stared into Damien's eyes as I gripped his hands and hugged them to me lovingly. I could see the pure joy in Damien's eyes as he stared down at me, tears lacing the edges. I love you no matter what you are. If you truly wish to be human, then let's do everything we can to make that happen. I hope he doesn't get scrubbed on. Before I let Damien reply, however, I brought his hands to my lips, kissing over them with a now worried expression. I was still scared I could lose him. But please, please, don't you dare die on me. I can't bear to live without you. Damien nodded and leaned in, kissing over my forehead gingerly.
I will do everything I can to survive it.
Well, I guess that's good enough. At least it's going to have to be. A wave of relief washed over me just from his words. Maybe he was enthralling me to calm down, or maybe his love simply reassured me that everything would be alright. Either way, this was happening. I looked up at him and caressed his cheek, feeling him lovingly nuzzle into my palm. Then let's tell Diana. A smile danced along Damien's lips before he wrapped his arms around me and buried his head in my shoulder. I could hear him whimper a bit in happiness as I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him close.
Thank you.
Awesome. I could faintly hear the voice in my head scoff.
Wow, you're really going to let him die? How sad. I guess you'll have to prepare a funeral instead of a wedding.
She's so triggered. I'm telling you, this is how triggered this person would have been the whole time if we were just completely blowing it off. I rolled my eyes and held Damien tighter. I wouldn't listen to it anymore. I believed in our love more than anything. We would be okay. Whew, alright, the 2 days that followed came filled with work from Diana and her group. Upon Damien's request, Diana ordered a massive search for everything needed for a transmutation ritual that would normally have been used to make a human a demon. The worry of the ritual bubbled in my core, but I was going to be alright. This was something Damien and I decided together, and this was going to make Damien happy. That was all that mattered in the end. Of course, the experience wouldn't have been great even without the lovely voice in my head trying to convince me otherwise. I settled that the voice was some form of worry, some sort of regret I was holding that was morphed to represent Diana, the one who placed the worry there years ago. I would beat it out as soon as Damien returned to me as a human. As the 7th day arrived, the ritual was prepared and ready for us. Wow, a whole week, huh? The others gave us their own concerns and wishes, hoping for the best regardless of what happened. We were positive that we would be okay. Entering the war room, Diana looked over at the pair of us, nodding and stepping away from the table. On it were arranged purple and gold candles, all lit with black, but somehow illuminating flames that flickered in their air gently. It seemed mystical and shadow-like, but if this was how it was done, then it was how it was done. There was space in the center of the table for a body to lay down within the circle of candles, making it clear of what had happened. Or what had to happen. Diana gestured to the table, looking to Damien and pointing to the large space between the arranged candles.
Lie down when you are ready.
Damien nodded before turning to me and smiling, taking my hand and kissing it.
You'll be here when it's over, right?
Yeah, what the fuck? Could you imagine we just leave? I nodded, smiling up at him and kissing his hand in return. I will, I promise. A smile was exchanged between us before Damien looked at before Damien looked at Diana and walked to the table, stepping up on a block that was placed for him near the table to let him climb up with ease. As Damien settled onto the table, Diana walked over to me and took my hand, guiding me towards the tables as well. Huh?
A theory. Indulge me.
What? I watched as Diana guided me to a chair beside the table, letting me sit on it before taking Damien's in my hands and clasping them together.
This is part of the ritual?
No, but it's a theory I have that might help.
Diana closed her eyes and wrapped her hands around Damien's and mine, letting a soft purple glow emanate from them and circle around our hands.
You are human and are full of energy. If something falters, we can use your energy to rekindle it and resume the ritual.
Oh, okay. Fear sank into my core, remembering the risks of this transformation, but at least Diana was trying to find ways to make the ritual work. It was rather thoughtful. Damien smiled at me before laying his head back and staring at the ceiling. I squeezed his hand as Diana removed her hands from our clasped ones. Purple magic continued to dance around our hands as I smiled back at Damien.
Ready?
Damien and I nodded at the same time before both of us closed our eyes. I could hear Diana step back and mutter under her breath some sort of Latin incantation I couldn't dissect. As she did, the energy around the room began to pulse and wave like an ocean in a storm. The air began to brush against my skin, causing me to look down at Damien, seeing the black fire around the candles around him intensify in their illumination. I tightened my hold on Damien's hand and shut my eyes again, desperate and hopeful. This had to work. It had to.
It won't work.
Say yeah, what's working? In the darkness of my mind, the voice appeared, making me grimace. Leave me alone.
I'm telling the truth. It won't work. He'll die and you'll be all alone. All because you wanted to make him...
Ignore it. My silence in reply made the voice silence itself. I had enough of its torment. Let's just keep triggering it. It's teasing and prodding. Nothing was going to go wrong.
Ignoring me won't change the truth of the matter.
I took in a breath and focused myself, remaining calm and hopeful. I know what you are.
Then say it. Make me believe it.
As I stared into the dark, I could feel a small grimace grace my lips. It was clear who the voice was now. You're my worries, my doubt. You are my emotions intensified and transformed into some sort of haunting being in my head. Triggered. Oh shit. Its silence became my confirmation. I had personified my worries and my doubts, and they had become a voice in my head, trying to guide me towards the wrong choices. So we're literally like completely bonkers mental. Like we're just absolutely freaking crazy. We're insane right now. Is what I'm pretty much getting off of this. We're hearing voices in our head that are just completely from our own mind. As I was magically inclined, it became an actual shadow that haunted my thoughts and dreams, feeding off of my fear and dread and becoming a part of me I couldn't shake off easily. However, now I could. With this transformation, I would finally destroy it. Oh damn, freaking turn into Teen Boo. I was wrong to doubt Damien. I was wrong to doubt myself. This is what we need, and nothing is going to keep us from the goal we want to achieve. We will defeat the Demon Lord, go home, and live happy lives together as humans. I wanted to be firm. I wanted to stand strong. As I finished speaking, however, the voice simply chuckled.
But if Damien becomes a human, he'll die at the Demon Lord's hands.
Diana is good enough. She can whoop his ass. I gasped as memories of my nightmare flashed before my eyes. Damien was a human in the nightmare, dying by sacrificing himself for my sake. The simple realization shook my core, making me fearful once again. If Damien became human, I'd lose him anyway. My soul became heavy and racked with doubt.
There we are. You cannot win this little battle with me. Either way, you lose.
Nope, don't say nothing. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? I was stuck in a... Wait, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to ignore it. That ended with Damien... Wait. I want to see which choice leads to the one that I want. Because what I want is to just, like, ignore it. I want to, like, say, no, screw that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go through this and see which one is like that. Because that's what I want my choice to be. But these two choices don't necessarily represent that. So I want to see which one is more like that. And that's the one I'll choose. Okay, so he's dying. Think of Damien. I began to flood my mind with thoughts of Damien. Our love in the... Okay, so this one sounds more like what I was wanting. Of our love in the human world, we were so happy and joyous together, forgetting the worries of the world and simply living with each other. There was no greater love story than the story I lived with him, and would continue to love with him until the end of time. Dies either way.
No!
What? It's got to be better this way. This one, the upper choice sounded better anyway. It also sounded more like what I wanted. Damien and Diana's voice ripped me from my thoughts. Gasping at the sight I became witness to upon my eyes. Damien's body became engulfed in black flames from the candles, the fire wrapping around his body like a cocoon of chains. Damien!
Focus your energy and save him!
I slammed my free hand into the hand I was clasping tightly, uncaring that the flames were licking at me as well. I dug my hands into his hand, shutting my eyes tightly. Don't leave me, please! Take me instead. What the fuck? No, I don't want the game to end. I'll save it, though. You know what? If I say take me instead, then it might be like, oh, the selflessness or something like that, and like, you know what I'm saying, and you know, make him stay alive. We'll see. I'll do it this way because I'm trying to do like reverse psychology here. I would normally just say fight this, but we'll see if reverse psychology works. I wasn't going to let death take him. If death was taking anyone, it would be me. The flames, as they accepted my terms, quickly began to snake off of Damien's body and up his hands to me, wrapping me in their tight embrace and burning over my skin. Oh no, are we going to turn freaking demon status? That's going to suck, right?
No!
I could feel Damien desperately try to cling to me, pulling my hands towards him. Still, I remained in place, unable to feel anything else by the flames that ripped at my skin. Delicious. Soon, I was falling back off the chair I was sitting on, slamming into the floor and feeling my entire body become engulfed by the black flames. Soon, the cool embrace of death was all I could feel. Fabulous, I'm freaking crispy. The darkness was all I could see. The last thing I could hear was Damien desperately crying out to me. Okay, enough of that. End my life, my life for yours. Nah, come on, let's go back. And let's do the fight this. I just wanted to see if it would work. This is what I would have chosen. Death wasn't going to take him from me. Damien was going to stay here with me, and I would hold on to him until the very end of... That's like a dramatic choice. Like, you know you're going to die, right? Like, you're literally choosing it to end the game. I prayed, begged. I hoped that my demand would come through. However, I couldn't stop the flames from entirely encasing his body. The flames, as I held onto Damien, quickly began to snake up his body and up his hand to me, wrapping me in his tight embrace and burning over my skin. Is it happening again? Oh, shit. As soon as I was falling back, something engulfed in flames. Death. Okay, let's just go back. So maybe I was wrong. Let's say don't say anything. Let's say don't say anything, alright? Let's see what happens. Alright, he's hurt. No, and then we're doing this. Damien and Diana's voice ripped me from my thoughts, gasping at the sight I became witness to upon opening my eyes. Damien's body was engulfed in something. Okay, Damien!
Focus your energy and save him!
I'm trying! So we're doing all that. Don't leave me. Fight this, right? Something. Okay. Death. What about this choice? Is it all death? Death. Okay, so that's weird. We're gonna end it there. Alright, we're gonna end it right there. And let me know in the comments, because I just wanted to see which one would progress. I guess none of them do, so that leads me to believe that maybe Damien's just not supposed to be a human, or at least maybe not right now. Maybe we're supposed to express our worries, because I guess this is like a kind of sacrificial end where we give him what he wants, because we're nice guys, you know what I'm saying? And then he ends up dying, and then we die too, apparently. We both freaking die, I'm assuming. It doesn't even say he becomes a human. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you think we should do. Should we go back? Is there a way to go through this route? And did I like mess something up, like kind of like what I did with Matthew, for example? Or yeah, was it Matthew? I think it was Matthew. But like kind of where you mess up and you don't side with him enough, even though I feel like I did. I feel like I side with him all the time. So that's a little weird, but let me know if I did mess up at some point, whether you saw it or not, or maybe this is just a lost cause. Maybe this particular route wasn't the way to go. Maybe this just ends in death one way or the other. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed. Definitely make sure you rate the video what you think it deserved. If you did enjoy, please consider sharing the video as well. That kind of stuff really helps me out a lot, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or any social media really, or even word of mouth with your friends. That's really awesome too. Of course, it directly helps me as well as the entire community and is greatly appreciated. So with that being said, if you want to become a sage in training, make sure you subscribe today. And as always, this has been Mr. Basie, your favorite sage, and I'll see you in the next video.